Hello and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to another Revisitag, where I put every tag that I've ever been tagged in this jar. There's about 30 in here still. I know it doesn't look like that, but there's loads in here. And then I go back through the tag, but I have no idea. I don't do any prep other than this little jar, and then kind of hoping that it's a decent tag for me to do. And also, this is a running theme as well, that I can't actually fit my hand in the jar. But anyway, right, we've got the tag. We are going to be doing the TBR Book Tag. Now, I'm expecting this TBR Book Tag to be calling me out for my TBR. This isn't even my TBR, this is some of my TBR. We then have more TBR, more TBR, more TBR. So I'm fully expecting this to be carnage. Question number 1 is, do you organise your TBR? Yes. Is not a lie. It's not a lie to say yes. How do I explain this without making it sound like I've got ADHD? Because I've never been diagnosed with ADHD, but it does sometimes feel like I've got ADHD. I have, on a short bookcase right in front of me, my official TBR. Books that I own, that I want to read. On this shelf, I have my TBR vets. They are secondhand books or books that I've had for a really long time that I want to get to. Then I have collections that I need to read, and then I have series in the far corner that I need to read. There are the occasional TBRs books in here, but that's like my hodder shelf. And then I've got books that I am like currently reading that are not in my currently reading trolley, which I also have one of those. And then I have the series for next year, and then I have like decorative books and stuff. So it looks like chaos. But then I also have a spreadsheet. So I have a spreadsheet that tracks not only the books that I buy, but the books that I get gifted, when I read them, what rating I gave them, and whether I unhauled them or not. So yes, but also no, but yes. So yes, technically it's organised. Organised chaos, kind of organised, semi-organised. Oh god, this video is going to out me. Question 2 is your TBR mostly print or is it ebooks? I have maybe 5 ebooks. I don't really buy ebooks. I tend to pre-order friends when they've written books that they've self-published, but other than that I don't tend to read ebooks. I used to have a Kindle, but I was a serial Kindle killer. I couldn't keep my Kindle alive to save my life. I went through like 3 in a year and then I just kind of gave up. Books are a bit hardier than that and they don't run out of battery, so I prefer print. But I do appreciate the good ebook. I do understand it, but I can see why people like it. It's just not for me. Question 3 is, how do you determine what is going to be on your TBR each month? Well, that's really straightforward. I take on way too many readathons, and then I do my TBR game, which is Racing Stacks. Racing Stacks is a TBR game that my brother created, which if you found me thanks to Gothober, you know that he is a master of making games, considering he's not fully qualified yet. Like, he just makes really fun games to play. Unfortunately, we never really backed this one up, so he can't make this playable for everyone, but we have our fingers crossed that something exciting is going to happen in the new year regarding TBR games. Anyway, Racing Stacks is really simple. We created all of these little icons that represented different genres that I want to read and enjoy, and then kind of warnings not to pick on genres that I didn't like. And then my character like races through the stacks, moves very, very quickly. I had to actually ask him to slow it down because it was too fast and I couldn't see the icons, because he is a professional gamer. Like, he games all the time. So he was much better at that game than I was, obviously. But that is how I do that. So I tend to do the Racing Stacks first, and then I will double up with readathons on top of those books. It makes it a lot easier for me. I am a bit of a mood reader, so having a TBR game that's really fun and engaging and then readathons on top means that I tend to have a really big TBR each month. I usually average about 20 books each month. I haven't read 20 books a month for nearly a year now. It used to be something that I would do when I was trying to hit 300 books, but I just don't need to anymore, like, is the short version of that. So I don't tend to punish myself and force myself to put books on my TBR that I don't want to have there, which means that I'm picking up books on a regular basis that I actually wanted to pick up, and it's just kind of prioritising them as opposed to forcing myself to read certain things. So the next question is, what is the book that has been on your TBR the longest? Now, I have TBR vets for a reason. These are secondhand or books that I've had for a really, really long time, but trying to guess which is the one that I've had the longest is really hard, because some of the books that mentally I feel like I've had the longest, I actually haven't had for more than 3 years. and others are rereads. So I'm going to guess it will be a reread, but I think it's the book that, outside of children's books that I'm trying to reread, but I sold my copy and therefore technically these are newer copies, I think this is the book that I've had on my shelf the longest. So the book that I've had on my shelf the longest and haven't read yet is Babylon Steel. Now, you won't know this book as Babylon Steel. This has recently been republished and rebranded as Bad Gods, and is about a young mercenary / brothel owner who has fought her way out of being under the control of some gods who are doing awful things, but now they are starting to creep back, and her past, the word I'm looking for, her past is coming to bite her in the ass. This book is wild. Like, there's a whole like tentacle sex thing going on, and like, it was weird. It was really weird. It is not a book that I would recommend to anyone the age that I read it when I did read it, and I know it's starting to get hype again because it's just bizarre. It's just so bizarre. So this is the oldest book on my TBR. The next question is, what is the most recent addition to your TBR? Now, I don't move things onto my owned TBR until I have moved a TBR vet off of my TBR, and having just finished the TBR vet that I am unhauling, I can move a new book onto my TBR. So I will be moving the Golden Enclave onto my TBR. This is the third in the Deadly Education series. This is the Waterstones edition, so it has this really cool sprayed edge. It's very shiny, very gold, and I'm very excited to read it. The second one had such a cliffhanger that I'm very excited to move on to this one, and I will probably prioritize this for November, even though I have loads of books that I bought this year that I haven't read yet. I just want to get to this one now. I just want to get there. The next question is, what is a book you bought for your TBR just because it had a pretty cover? Now, I'm not massively a cover buyer. I tend to read a lot around the books that I'm going to buy, and I tend to kind of bulk buy books as well. So that is trickier, but probably it will be a book that I bought specifically because it was a special edition. So what book did I buy recently because of the pretty cover? I mean, I could just use a Golden Enclave again because I feel like that's probably apt. Okay, the most recent one that wasn't a Golden Enclave was Stoneblind, which is a Medusa retelling, another Waterstones edition. I have read and adored everything I could get my hands on by Natalie Haynes so far, so this being the fourth book of hers that I'm getting to is just very, very exciting. And I did originally just pre-order the standard copy, but then I sold it through my shop, so I wasn't too mad about it, and then pre-ordered myself the Waterstones edition because I really love that detail. I love the snake on it. I just think it's really beautiful and really clever, and just, yeah. Like I said, I'm not much of a cover buyer, but this is pretty. This is pretty and I had to have it. What is an as yet unpublished book that is going to be on your TBR? There are so many. Since becoming a bookseller, I found it really hard to distinguish books that I've pre-ordered and are on their way and books that are like 6 months in the coming. But the next book that I'm really highly anticipating and really excited to get onto my own TBR shelf is Hellbent, which is the second book in the Ninth House series. I really enjoyed what Leigh Bardugo did. That's really hard to say. I really enjoyed what Leigh Bardugo did to kind of create this gothic urban fantasy with mystery elements, with the gothic, etc. And I really, really liked how dark it was. Like, it was really insidious and it had no problem being really brutal at times, which I thought was really fun. So I'm really excited about the second one because there are quite a few specifically well-known authors who have tried to kind of scale up their YA to adult and just haven't managed it in the way that Leigh Bardugo did, which is easier to say than Leigh Bardugo do. So next is, what is a book on your TBR that everyone has read that you haven't? And that's really hard because I watch a lot of booktubers and a like really diverse mix of booktubers as well, who all read very different things. And I feel like there's a lot of like really popular books that I have got to more recently. So trying to find a book specifically that everyone has read and I haven't is really hard. Probably The Hatmakers. I have The Mapmakers as well, and loads of people love this as a really great middle grade. I've TBR'd it twice and I haven't read it, which means that if I TBR it for a third time and don't read it, I will have to unhaul it. And I don't want to because it's very, very pretty, but I'm just so worried that it's going to be too much whimsy for me. And I know that sounds so stupid when you talk about middle grades, because people love middle grades for the whimsy. I like my middle grades because the spooky ones are genuinely very spooky and the sad ones are really, really sad. Whimsy ones just don't do it for me, and I'm really worried this is falling into that category. The next question is a book that's on your TBR that everyone has recommended to you. House of Hollow. I've had this for 2.5 years now, and anytime it's mentioned, people go, oh my god, Hannah, you love that! Which should fill me with excitement for it, but actually filled me with complete and utter dread, because what if I don't? What if I don't love it? What if it isn't everything that you all thought I would love about it? I don't know. I really should trust people to recommend me books more, but I've been burnt too many times because I'm a picky bitch. And I do appreciate that it's me burning myself, but the fear is real with this one, because it could be everything. It could be everything. But what if it isn't? You know? A book on your TBR that you are dying to read seems redundant, because all of them. I want to read all of them. I have all of these books because I want to read them. Probably the one that I am most anxious to pick up is probably Wish You Weren't Here and Out of Service. These are middle grade ghosty stories written by the same person who did the Darkwood trilogy that I absolutely adored, and she is one of the writers for Horrible Histories. So if you enjoy that TV show, it is very much that kind of banter, and the idea of a family doing ghost hunting in the UK, these look really fun. They look really fun, really low impact, and I'm highly anticipating these ones. But all of them, I want to read all of them. I have too many books and I want to read all of them. Which is also what makes this next question also redundant. A book on your TBR you have no interest in reading. Those don't really exist. There are books that I have put off for a really long time because I find them intimidating, but I don't own any books that I'm like, I don't want to read that, because I would unhaul them. I unhaul like a trooper. I DNF like a trooper. I don't have anything that I'm like, I don't want to read that. I have books that I'm like, no, I'm intimidated by that, and that's not the same thing. The last book that I unhauled because I just had no interest in reading it was Moxie by Jennifer Mateo, and it's nothing to do with the writing or anything like that, or like the author's reputation or anything like that. Like, I just lost interest in it, and because I lost interest in it, I donated it to a local school. They will get more use out of it than I will, and that's just how I roll. That's it. And then the last question is the most embarrassing question. How many books are on your owned TBR? In all honesty, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't checked recently. I did a massive TBR list at the beginning of the year, and I will do another one in January. When I did my last one, I had over 300 books. I had something like 346 books. Now, I have read and unhauled loads of books since then, but I've also bought loads of books since then. I think I've bought maybe 76 books. I've read over 100 books this year, and I know I haven't kept all of those. So I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. Don't know. They haven't said anything to you? I don't know. But what I do know is in 2023, one of my big goals is to clear as many books off my shelf as possible and to try and avoid buying more. Olivia and I are kind of racing to see who can clear the most books from their shelf. I read faster than she does, but she also doesn't. She's going on a book buying ban. So I will have to probably read 3 books, just to, like 3 books for every one that she reads, just to kind of maintain an equilibrium, whereas she won't be buying any more. So yeah, that final question, I've no idea. People that I can tag, I'm trying to think who I have tagged in Revisitags recently, and I'm not entirely sure. I know I've tagged Abby before, I know I've tagged Lizzie before, and I know I've tagged Becca before. So I think because we're doing the challenge, we're doing the challenge in the new year, I'm going to tag Olivia, and I would love to see kind of like where she's starting out with her TBR. That could be really fun. All the people that I'm thinking of, like Celine and Hannah, that would be great for this, have got massive TBRs. So that feels mean. Hey, I'm a mean person. Screw it. Celine and Hannah, I'm tagging you in this one as well. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will be doing another Revisitag very soon. Don't forget to check out Waypoint, because buying something from Waypoint and treating yourself supports me in my content. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you again very soon. Have a nice day.